It is now.
Sure.
We good?
2018, yes.
Always away, right?
All right. Camera on the wall says that we are ready to go. I'll open up this town council meeting for April 3rd, 2018. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All you, Twyla.
Councilor Albert,
Here.
Councilor Kobe. Here. Councilor Brunel.
Here.
Councilor La Rochelle.
Here.
Councilor Ward.
Here.
Councilor Lunt.
Here.
And Councilor Crawford.
Here.
Next item.
Is good news and recognition. The proclamation recognizing the 2018 Spirit of America Award. Would you like to make a motion or to read it first?
I'll take a motion, please.
Make the motion.
Need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
And the motion proclamation
Please.
reads. Okay. Motion passed. The 2018 Lisbon Maine Spirit of America Foundation tribute honors Sylvia Dowdy for commendable community service, providing for recognition of Sylvia Dowdy's volunteerism and community service for over 50 years. Be it resolved by the Town Council of the Town of Lisbon as follows. Whereas Sylvia is well known throughout Lisbon for her lifetime of achievements through her commitment and her dedication to so many Lisbon organizations. In 1970, Sylvia was part of a group that created the Lisbon Recreation Department as an entity under the Lisbon Schools. Whereas Sylvia was involved with the Lisbon JCs, the committee that founded and organized Lisbon Frontier Days, which became Lisbon Moxie Days in 1982. Sylvia was very involved with the high school boosters and more recently the Lisbon Sunshine Hill Seniors Program. Whereas the Sunshine Hill Seniors have been providing services to the retired population of Lisbon for over 10 years. Volunteer Sylvia Dowdy has helped create a positive environment at the MTM Community Center for people to come, socialize, and develop lasting friendships. She is also a volunteer at the Lisbon Methodist Church, whereas Sylvia is in the kitchen every Friday preparing meals for the folks that attend the MTM Center. She has provided hundreds of meals for thousands of people over the past 10 years. She is considered by many to be Lisbon's matriarch and a community leader to generations of Lisbon residents. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Town Council of the Town of Lisbon that Sylvia Dowdy be recognized for her admirable achievements and honors which she has instilled upon this community, receiving the 2018 Lisbon Spirit of America Foundation tribute, and for her contributions to the youth and seniors that has not gone unnoticed by the people of Lisbon. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be framed and presented to Sylvia Dowdy for appropriate display.
Thank you, Twyla.
You're welcome.
Next item, please.
We have no public hearings. It would be the audience participation and response for agenda items.
Anybody wishing to speak on behalf of anything on the agenda, please step forward. Seeing none, moving right along, Twyla.
The consent agenda. Any counselor wishing to remove an item may do so now. Seeing none. Order 2018-62 to approve the municipal accounts payable and payroll warrants. Number 104 for $897.43. Number 105 for $8,791.09. Number 106 for $166,148.09. Number 107 for $13,650.76. Number 108 for 86 cents. Number 5051 for $13,863.97. Number 1818 for $93,245.35. And the council minutes of March 20 and the special council meeting of March 21, along with setting public hearings on April 17th for victuals licenses for the Flux Restaurant, Easy Mart, doing business as Extra Mart, Waltz Place, and Richard George, doing business as Subway, plus a public hearing on April 17th to hear comments on amendments to Chapter 70, Zoning Ordinance, Division 13, District Uses, Section 70, 531, Table of Land Uses.
I need a motion, please.
I'll make them.
Thank you, sir. I need a second.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Order passed 7-0.
We do this to you every week.
I'm all in front.
My question would be is, can we have the motion be something to the effect that as presented, so it actually avoids the oral recitation from you
Can
each
look
week?
into that.
Can you just
All right.
I love your AM radio voice, but the fact that I feel guilty every time that is something that you have to go through. If we can try to find an abbreviated way of actually presenting it as written,
Okay.
I would
I'll look
gladly
into that.
try to encourage that view.
He's doing it the nice way. I just don't want to see a line item budget in your budget that says oxygen tank.
Right. Right. Thank you, sir. I get myself in enough trouble. That's an assist over there. Next item, Twyla.
Under Council Orders, Ordinances, and Resolutions, Order 2018-63, R.H.R. Smith Audit Engagement Letter.
This is the annual audit engagement letter, and you need to authorize me to sign it with R.H.R. Smith. The amount's the same as this current year, $9,850 for the town, $9,717 for the school, and $2,550 for the sewer department. And they were here last week to start audit preliminary.
How many years on the contract again?
We did 5.
5. So it's year 3 of 5?
3 of 5. And he held the amounts for all the audits. He didn't
Right.
make any increases.
I remember that. I just don't remember how long it
Yeah.
was for an engagement. That's all. I need a motion.
I'll make a motion.
I need a second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Order passed, 7-0.
Thank you, Twyla. Next item.
Order 2018-64, the Recreation Department Portland Green Drinks Micro Grant to GPS trails and produce maps.
Come on up, Mark.
I'd like to invite my friend Annika
Please do.
from our Conservation Commission, and she's the one that found this grant, knows quite a bit about it. Annika, do you have any questions?
We have the content. Why don't you just hit us with the highlights? What do they intend to do for us?
Sure. Annika McGirt, Conservation Commission. So the purpose of applying for this grant is to get, we're looking particularly for $500, $200 to offset the costs of a University of Maine Farmington student to use GPS to actually map the trails for town-owned properties, and then plug it into a GIS platform to actually create trail maps. The remainder of the grant would then be used to actually print maps, make them available here at the town office as well as at trailheads and at MTM. That's it in a nutshell.
On the old school side, is there anything associated with signage, or are there trails already marked? I know there was some discussion associated with that at one of you guys' meetings.
This project wouldn't have anything to do with the signage. We would implement some of that if they go out there and find out there's other additional trails. We'll sign those. We did some signage last year in Beaver Park, but overall she was talking about even the walking trails, and I think the past council was talking about even increasing the signage on the River Trail and also the Miller Trail. That's something that still needs to be done on a larger basis, larger project.
I would like to see a proposal on that sometime, in the future, in a capital improvement budget in the future, just so we know, what it would cost to put some signs on 196 and help direct people to those trailheads.
It was kind of a lead into on that, because I know it's one of you guys' goals, both from the Conservation Commission and Recreation budget. So why don't you give us a little bit of a snippet of that, because if you're not here next week, you actually will have that privilege.
Our Recreation Department goals?
No, conservation. What a part of this discussion and trail signage is part of those goals.
Okay.
Why you guys got second?
The forestry management program at Beaver Park, and also open space, the green space areas, including Pinewoods. We talked about Pinewoods, and also Summer Street Park. Those are the 3 biggest areas that are town-owned property that we need to really do some forestry management plans. We do have Beaver Park's management plan. It's quite comprehensive. We printed it out. It's like 25 or 30 pages. So we've been going through that, and that's something that we'll be working on this 2018 year.
Perfect.
I have a question, please. I think it's a great idea that as far as for mapping out trails. Now, I know in the past, some like snowmobile clubs have actually mapped their trails out for safety reasons and stuff. Does this actually add to that at all if someone was within our trail system? And does it mark it out to the point where it's more defined if there's certain locations of the trail?
It really does. In fact, at Beaver Park, it's not uncommon I've got lost out out there before, and I've been out there several times. If you're walking out there, there's so many different, trail connections, and you might go, a couple hundred yards without seeing a sign, and there might be some crossover paths, and you're like, okay, now what trail am I on? But with this mapping program, you'll be able, if you have a device, an iPhone or an iWatch or something that has GPS, you'll be able to pinpoint right where you're at, what trail you're on, and get yourself back.
Yep. And if something was to happen, you would be able to tell someone where you are. Right.
Absolutely.
Yep. Important stuff.
Any other questions? I need a motion then.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Order passed 7-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Hey,
you.
Thank you.
Thanks for doing the digging for the grant. Much appreciated.
Absolutely.
Order 2018-65 to amend the fee schedule under Parks and Recreation, Moxie Festival, and Victualers. This is under Rules, Regulations, and Policies. Part 2 of our code book.
So we're looking at page 69 through 75. Is that correct?
Page 70.
Right, and
Yep.
you highlight just the ones that are actually talking about where.
On page 70, though, Mark wants to make a change under the summer co-ed slow pitch. He's got $450 per team, and he wants to increase that to $500.
Okay. And for the listening public, Mark, do you have the list right in front of you?
I do.
Can you just highlight the changes that we're talking about, just
Sure.
for the record?
I don't have any numbers on my page, but I'll start with the pavilion or gym for the commercial producing for profit. I'd like to increase our fees from $40 to $60 per hour, rooms from $20 to $30 per hour. And the rationale behind those changes are that we haven't made any changes for the prices for the commercial since we opened in 2004. And I think it's still within the market, fair market value. Looking at other community centers, even though we're not a large community center, it's within that fair market value. For the nonprofit or non-revenue producing, the pavilion and gym goes from $20 to $30 per hour, and the rooms from $10 to $20 per hour. And before I move on, I'd like to just, because those are at the MTM Community Center, just ask if there's any questions about those changes.
Does that include a janitorial fee at all?
No.
Then you're very much equitable, because you do this in Lewiston, you're looking at a minimum of 2, if not 4 hours worth of janitorial time on top of that hourly rate. So I would agree. You're very much within price range.
Okay.
Anything else on content of those? Go ahead, Mark. Keep going.
Okay. The Pinewoods Road Sports Complex. Right now, we've been charging $100 per day for both fields. And we know that Lewiston and Auburn, they charge double that per field. So they charge, I think, $200 per field. If there's 3 fields, it's $600. We charge quite a bit less, which means that we have the advantage. We have a lot of teams. We have a lot of teams coming to our place in the summertime. We have, I think, 12 last year tournaments. Lewis and Auburn comes to Lisbon and plays on our fields. Because we're under the market there, I'd like to increase that to $150 for both fields per day. So $75 per field per day. If it's a 2-day tournament, then it's $300.
Do you have any history on last time we set the 100, just to give that back up, like the 2004 date?
It's been, I think, more than 5 years since we've changed that.
Okay.
Before, I mean, actually, I could tell you it was when Diane came on board, because we had almost all of our fees were not listed on anywhere. The only fees we had, I think, were the summer day camps. And then 3 years ago, we went and did a comprehensive fee list, and we added them all to this. So I think, that said, I mean, I don't have any records of it, but I think it's been at least 5 years since we've added any increases in the complexes.
Keep going.
The Moxie 5K, we haven't changed that in quite a while. It's probably been another 10 years. We are probably the lowest priced 5K out there. I mean, a lot of fees, $30 to $40. We're going from 20 to 25 for pre-registrations and $25 to $30 for race day registrants. We average 450 to 500 runners every year. I think it's a price that's equitable, and I think it's if you're pre-registered, you're guaranteed a performance T-shirt, which is very popular. And I don't think going up $5 is going to deter people from registering. The football program, we've increased just minimal, but it was $5 for increase for 7th and 8th grade football. So it went from $10 actually, $75 to $85. Youth program is going to be $65 to $75, and Pee Wee is $65 to $70. So there's a kind of a tier fee structure there for the youth football program. It's been a long time since we've increased those fees. I would say probably 7 or 8 years.
Yeah, insurance, officials, equipment, I think that's probably within line to be able just at least cover the costs of what you're trying to do.
It's one of those programs that, I mean, right now we have over 100 kids playing football, which is pretty good. It's a football town. But yet it's still one of those programs that doesn't really meet the mark for breaking even in our rec program. Program existed long before I came on board. So I think it was one of the first programs that was started in 1970. But it is an expensive program to run. And the only additional one that I want to change is on the next page is under the summer co-ed slow pitch.
Page 70.
Yep.
Our rate for the per team is $450. Last year we had 12 teams. We have I would like to propose that we increase that to $500 per team, knowing that our neighbors up in Lewis and Auburn charges $650 for their teams. So we're still under market, and I think people like to come to play to Lisbon because it's less expensive and we have great ball fields. But that was my proposals for changes.
Any questions on content, guys?
Still letting the old guys play football at Beaver Park, huh?
Yeah, and they are getting older.
I dare you to tell Pat that.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
I'm not doing
Still getting older.
it. Right. I need a motion if none of the
Just
questions.
on the
Go ahead.
page of 73 at the bottom, there's one addition, and it's the art vendor fee for the Moxie Festival. It's the application fee prior to April 14th and then after April 14th.
Thank you.
That's new this year.
And one more.
And one, it's the
On
next
page 75, we're proposing that we break down the vitulers fees for food vending. And we're proposing that restaurants and on all others excluding itinerant vendors be $100. That's what we've done in the past. And then itinerant vendors, we were going to recommend $50 for them, since they're not a full restaurant. Probably be less to process.
We had been charging them what
It's
before?
$100.
Full, okay. So it's a benefit to them.
So it brings it down to a more reasonable price for them.
I just got a question about the art vendor. It says after April 14th. I see a lot of after May 18. Why was the 14th identified as the cutoff?
I honestly don't know. Why?
So you see after
73.
Yeah, right there. So if you look at all the other ones here, a bunch of different Lisbon businesses, nonprofit after May 18, after May 18, after May 18. There's 4 there that are after May 18. They go up, but this one is after April 14. It goes up. It's not a big deal. I was just wondering what the rhyme or reason was regarding it.
The application's on the back.
Yeah, and just that's
It's
the
in
date.
there. That's
Oh,
the
it's
date.
because they have to choose somebody by May 25th to let them know if they've been accepted in.
Good enough.
Okay. Need a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Need a second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Order passed, 7-0.
Thank you.
Yes.
Next item.
Ordinance 2018-66, amend Chapter 70 zoning ordinance, Division 13, District Uses, Section 70, 531, Table of Land Uses. This is the first reading. A roll call vote is required.
Should it be an ordinance
Yes,
instead of an order.
ordinance, yep.
Come on up, sir.
Oh, my agenda doesn't say it.
Thank you.
We won't hold it against you, Twyla.
Didn't say it.
As you will recall, Don Fellows from the Planning Board, as you will recall, there was a moratorium enacted, an emergency moratorium enacted. I don't have the exact date, but I think it was in mid-February, a 90-day ordinance. Because there were applications in surrounding towns for retail operations for medical marijuana. And because we didn't feel that we had our act together with how to deal with it, we wanted a moratorium on how to deal with it. At the time, we had an application which would have come before that. However, that application has not been acted on at this point. But we still had to deal with the land use chart, which is what we're dealing with in this case, and that's what's before you. So the only changes to the land use chart that are prepared or planned are for commercial uses for marijuana retail store and for retail sales of products manufactured on the premises. So that change is making the retail store conditional in village and commercial as well as direct diversified development area. And the retail sales of products manufactured on in RO2, rural occupation 2, and rural occupation 1, as well as village commercial and diversified development. So if that is changed, then that's where those operations would be permitted in town. That would not only cover medical marijuana, but in the future, if and when the retail situation is settled, it would also count for those.
Could you just get into a little bit why you guys settled with the conditional versus the yes versus a no in some of that criteria?
The thought was, I was not here for all that presentation, but the thought was initially there'd been a lot of permitted all the way across the board, or conditional all the way across the board, meaning that the planning board had to look at the applications for them. That was the intent. But when you do a conditional application, the assumption is that under some reasonable condition it will be permitted. So thinking again, we decided that straight no's in some areas would be more appropriate than conditional. Straight permitting without conditional, the board didn't feel was proper because it needed that vetting. Okay. So.
And what we have before us is the recommendation of the planning board.
That is the recommendation of the planning board, yes.
Now, did anybody here attend the public hearing from 2 weeks ago? I'm trying to remember the timeline.
When was it? Was it last week, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, 2 weeks ago, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Was anybody able to make that? Is there anything that...
I
know I didn't make it.
participated.
We had one interested party, and that was it.
Is that Fern?
Did you attend?
I did. There was one other person from the property owner that was there that had a question, and that's why.
Please.
So if you look down on again, this is one of the things I just want the council and people to realize is, it says retail sales of products manufactured on premise, and you can see it was no, and it got moved over to conditional. But people have to realize that's a very broad statement. So if you're up on Upper Route 9 and I build something on my property, I can now actually come and get a permit to sell it. So it's not just marijuana, it's anything. So anything. So if I build it, I can sell it. So if I build cars on Route 9, no, I'm just teasing. But if you build it manufactured on site,
right,
there's no real limitation description on that. It actually could be potentially sold as a conditional use. So that was the only concern, and maybe you can elaborate yes or no on that. But it doesn't discriminate besides other stuff made on site. It doesn't say agricultural or anything. It just says products manufactured on site.
No, I know it.
So if I build cakes in my kitchen on Upper Route 9, I could potentially sell them, right? With this conditional?
I believe the thought was that if it was otherwise permitted, for example, farm stands, that would be permitted.
But this actually is a very broad, when you actually change this to conditional, it's not talking about farm stands, it's talking about anything that
Yes.
you produce on site. So that was just one of those kind of catch-22s where I know
It is a
people-
catch-22 because you can't, it's kind of,
it's either yes or no or conditional, right? And,
Right,
and, the,
right.
and the idea of conditional allows it to be an opportunity,
right.
but conditional means that
Consideration.
you can bring it in and shut it down.
But on the other hand, it does say under some reasonable condition it must be permitted. That doesn't mean if I manufacture tractors on the premises that that's a reasonable application.
And I just
So
threw that out there just because. But I mean,
I
it's one of those
suppose
things
if
where
there's a difference in planning board, it might be reasonable, but
Right.
just it does change what those areas. It was pretty broad before. Not broad, but it was pretty detailed up on Route 9 what you could and what you couldn't do as far as
Right.
in farmland. Now this leaves it to a little bit more open interpretation of what potentially could be sold if you're actually manufacturing.
You also
on
have
premise.
rural open space 2 to consider too, which is all along Upland Road.
Yep.
What qualifies as manufactured? If I bring in a truck with no motor and I put a motor in it, am I manufacturing it right there in my...
Probably not. The planning board
No.
may actually have some idea, but if you're actually, if you actually build something and manufacture in your backyard, I mean, again, that's the only thing that I had seen that was discussed in before and after that actually could be, that could be actually someone could look at it a little differently, and I don't think it's right or, I mean, to me, I don't have a problem with it because if you guys are my neighbors and I come in for conditional, you guys come in and say you go for it.
I
I'm not hurting
believe that
anybody else. I think it's good to go.
The discussion at the time was that originally it was in there as permitted in a lot of those, in the retail sales, and just plain permitted didn't cut it.
Conditional actually forces the dialogue to at least make your neighbors aware of what your intentions are.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
you're right, though, too, as we all know, that there has to be some reasonable condition that can be met.
Yep.
So,
No, and again, but I would just say, just so people understood the idea of it being conditional doesn't mean that, someone can interpret it any way they want to in a sense, but it still has to get through the idea of the planning board and your neighbors to actually.
someone once asked me, too, what if the council wants to change the thing? Can we change it? Yes, you can change it. However, I'm reading all of the requirements of Chapter 70. If we don't recommend something, the planning board doesn't recommend something, that then you need a 2/3 vote to pass it. But diplomatically, I think the right thing to do, if you don't agree with it, would be to send it back and then give us an opportunity to change it or not.
So pretty much with this, if I may again, is the idea of under the land use, the way it's written here, for any retail store, it would actually have to go through a conditional process where it goes through the planning board. There's no straightforward, automatic ticket in any location. So where it's in a lot of areas it's not available to be done, but where it can be available, it actually go through the process,
Right.
the conditional process.
That's right.
That's the grand sum of the intent. They've met every meeting that they've had since we enacted the moratorium. It's been on their agenda, so it has been addressed 3 times to get to this revision that we're seeing here.
I think
So
more than that, but
Yes, more than
that was just from the dialogue there to this point.
me.
So I guess I would open it up. What are you guys seeing for this addressing the moratorium that we put in place, knowing that it had a shelf life of the 90 days that we all agreed that we weren't going to extend beyond? What is everybody seeing based on what's written here?
the 30-day thing has actually gone away too for us when we.
Right.
Wasn't there a certain period once we
There's a
actually voted?
30-day time that had to elapse between when we gave it to you and when you held the hearing, but it's not there anymore. You just have to have a hearing.
So
Right.
now, if we were to vote yes on this, in essence, that moratorium, if chosen to, could be actually lifted anytime, right? Or,
Right.
right.
But you have to have the hearing first, obviously,
Yeah.
in the second reading.
In the situational application that's in play now is still going to come back because he was willing to let this flush out because of the change in venue of where he was looking to be able to do.
That's the latest I know, but there's
Yeah,
not been
that's
any
what I'd
changes
heard
yet.
there the night that he actually said that to you guys. So
Right.
that was my understanding as well too. So that would be the same thing. We lift this. He is coming forward with that because he still plans to go forward. It's just in a different location from where he was looking at.
True.
The moratorium served its purpose. We got the framework in place. We're ready to move.
If we agree with the content that's actually presented before us here tonight, correct? And that is the question. Where are you guys living with what you're seeing? You've heard the intent. The intent is conditional to at least allow it to be able to be considered instead of straight no, straight yes. At least it actually goes through the process, which would be the planning board, to be able to be heard. Is everybody okay with the content or any?
It makes sense.
Safe. So make it through the motions, and we've still got a few more steps to go through to make sure it works.
I'll take a motion then.
Make a motion.
I need a second.
I'll second it.
All right, now discussion. Thank you.
Yep.
Where are we living on this? What are you guys thinking?
My reservations were addressed. As long as we have a recourse and somebody comes up with something other than what we intended to put in place here, anybody could come along and say, I want to, do this, that, or the other. Sounds like we have some recourse here if we need to be. That was my only concern. I'm fine with it.
I will run off that and say that I am more encouraged with the state's version of a medical marijuana storefront versus the original intent where we couldn't actually ask any questions of what's actually going on within the borders of our community. So it treats it just like any other retail establishment. I'm okay with that. It's the equity thing when you're bringing in customers. Now, it hasn't been a direct line until that discussion's been opened up because it's supposed to be between the patient and the individual. So it's a fair balance. I think it's actually setting the framework in some cases to when the recreation storefront comes in, which is why you don't see marijuana medical, marijuana recreational storefront. We just eliminated that line, and this would be the same for both, is the intent here. That said, that's a grand sum of what I know you guys have actually worked on. Is there anything new that we haven't got that you guys haven't already presented to us, Don? I think they're working on a question. Anybody else got anything while they're hashing? You good? Jeopardy music?
Yeah. I'd just like to make a comment that, some of these changes were brought forward at the public hearing, so the planning board was actually, although it wasn't a big attendance, the people that were attended definitely had an opportunity to voice their concerns and actually have a direct ear at the planning board and actually influence the way this chart came out. So.
Right.
Actually, the first meeting it was to be held was canceled.
It's a store.
But we didn't want to.
It's not where you're actually allowed to grow
and
an
have a hearing at the same time, so we waited.
And we are reading this right. This is just a land chart use. And it's basically covering where you're putting in stores, correct, Don? Has nothing to do with somebody's growing medicinal or somebody. It has nothing to do with where you're growing it at the moment. It's only about where we're going to allow you to put a storefront, correct? Whether it's recreational or it is medicinal, correct? This is what you're... Because we've had some people that have come up and, again, there's a lot of stuff to read. Some people don't read it, can't read it, or can't comprehend it. We just try to make sure that their taxpayers are getting the word across at what it is. And again, it's just where we're going to allow you to put a storefront. Correct. Thank you, Don.
Question on content? No? Are we ready for a vote? By all means, go ahead, Cassie.
It's going to be commercial, village, and diversified development that is allowing retail.
It's not really that you're even allowing it. It's going to be
Conditional.
Conditional.
Right.
There's that.
Right.
There's no guarantees.
No, but that's the general area where if
yes,
you're
correct.
interested, that's where you're.
That's where you should put.
going.
That's where you should put
It's
your dollar
the
down.
dialogue that we wanted to, as a community, have.
Right.
We didn't get the opportunity to have.
For
under
consideration.
Yep.
Correct.
Right. You guys got it. That's why I wanted to make sure that absorbing this before we move forward.
And again, it's
Thanks to the planning board for doing the heavy lifting on this. Appreciate it.
several times.
Are we ready for a vote now?
And again, it's only the first reading. As you said.
Right.
Many more talks.
Roll call, Twyla.
Okay. Counselor Colby?
Yes.
Thank you.
Counselor Albert?
Yes.
Counselor Crawford?
Yes.
Counselor Brunel?
Yes.
Counselor La Rochelle?
Yes.
Counselor Lunt?
Yes.
And Counselor Ward?
Yes.
7 yeas, 0 nays. Order passed.
Thank you.
Yes.
Progression.
Correct. Right direction.
Moving right along, Twyla.
Order 2018-67 to set the council summer meeting dates.
We talked about it in one of the first discussions about goals. I would like to see us go to a summer once-a-month schedule at the council level. I think that it should be a time period that should dwindle down, not actually require the two where we have the light agendas and forcing everybody to come in as we've had the last couple of years. You know, so that said, I'm proposing that for June, July, and August. What be the wishes of the council?
June, I think, is going to be hard because
Yeah,
of
I think
the
we're already pretty committed in
budget,
June.
So-
Yeah.
budget public hearing.
That's
and then,
that's probably true. Let's consider July and August, 1 and 2.
I mean, you can do just the 19th in June, which would be the public hearing, and then on the 22nd is just a special council meeting to adopt the municipal budget.
Which we'd have to have anyways. So I'd strike that and go
Two's
just
better
July
than
and August.
4.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
July and
Yeah.
August.
July and August, which would be. So right now we are currently scheduled to meet July 17, 9, 10, and 24, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then 7 and 21 in August.
Yep.
Would it be a hardship if we actually did July 10 and August 7?
I'm
skip
looking
the
at
other
right
two.
date here.
Do I have the right dates?
I'm looking at
First and the third would be July 3rd or July 17th.
yeah.
I'm ixnaying the whole July 3rd with too close to the 4th of July holiday,
Yeah,
and
so-
we'll, I-
17th?
or we can go with the 17th or the 10th, either one.
I say 10. If you're asking, I'm going for 10. Because I say we do 10.
The weekend before Moxie as well. The 10th.
Let's do 10 and 21 in August. That way it gives us a little gap.
So says Norman.
Just asking.
Yeah, they're just dates. We just need to land on two that are actually currently scheduled. I mean, the July 3rd was already going to come up for a discussion item with proximity to the July 4th holiday anyways. So they're good as dates as any. I need a second on
Second.
any other alternative dates that floating.
That work better for other folks.
How does that work for you, Diane? I know that would kind of leave you a gap of,
I'd rather see
several
us
weeks
do at
between
least the 10th and the 14th.
I would go with that. Push it back.
Hey.
10 and 14. July 10, August 14. Friendly amendment. All in favor?
7-0 for
Something comes up, we always can
August
call a special
14th.
meeting.
Right.
That's the wild card right there at any point in time. You know if something comes up.
And you heard that, right? We're in agreement on that. If,
Do you want to do a main motion as amended?
please.
August 14th.
And it would be the same people making the amendment?
Yep.
That is for, okay. And all the main motion as amended, vote?
That all in favor was everybody, right?
7-0. All right.
Yeah. I was going to say, I was recapping.
Yeah.
Okay.
7-all.
Hey, Twyla.
7-0. Order 2018-68, the school committee set school budget, validation referendum election date, order public hearing, and ballot printing.
We've all read that. We know what it means. I need a motion.
I'll make the motion.
I need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Order passed, 7-0.
Next item, Twyla.
Order 2018-69 to set the registrar hours and casting of absentee ballots for June 12, 2018 election.
Same thing. I'll take
Make
a
the
motion.
motion.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Order passed, 7-0.
Next item.
Order 2018-70, the tax collector certificate of settlement.
This is for you to approve and sign the certificate of settlement for me as tax collector for the year of 2017. We're almost caught up now. Everything has been collected for taxes and is liened. All the personal property taxes have been paid except for one account. I've started a process on that. And with the exception of the Golden Dragon Martial Arts for $13.44, the state statute allows you to write off minor or burdensome amounts for the personal property tax. And I've been in touch with this individual, and he just won't pay the tax. And I can go to small claims court, but for what it's worth to go through all that for $13.44, I can certainly do it if you'd like me to, but I just don't think, I think it's a waste of your time right now.
I think your time's better served.
Yeah. So if you could approve and sign the certificate for the tax year 2017, discharge the tax collector from any obligation to collect the personal property taxes assessed to Golden Dragon Martial Arts Academy, and authorize the treasurer to write off the tax in the amount of $13.44.
There's a single form that will go through.
Yeah, should be this one right here. It's the one.
So you need
Yes.
a motion?
I need a motion.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Would it pass 7-0?
I'm assuming you have what we need to sign, gonna come
Yes.
through. Okay.
Down this way.
Next item, Twyla?
Order 2018-71, Public Works bid projects.
This is similar to what we did last year. We'd like to put the paving projects out to bid, and it'll be clearly stated in the bids that it will be awarded contingent on final budget adoption. We did the road striping bid at the same time, and the road salt. So when the road salt comes due, we'll be able to do that when AvCog advertises it, and then we need to get our road striping. So we'd like authorization for the Public Works Director to advertise these bids, advertise the bids, and then obviously we'll come back to you.
Nothing turns until we actually have a final budget
Exactly.
adopted and everything else on the first two items.
Right. Yep.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Got that?
Discussion?
Yes.
Any discussion?
I had a question. Yeah, I heard you.
The striping down on Davis Street for the walking path with the pedestrian marks, was that actually done through this last year, or was that done individually through the town?
Individually.
That was done straight through Public Works?
Yep.
Down on Davis Street where the walking trail is?
Yep.
Well, where it was paved, there's a white mark, and then there's actually pedestrian walking. So that was actually done through just a regular Public Works budget, not through the striping budget?
Can we add that to
Well,
the scope?
that's all part of it's in the Public Works budget, and that's where the striping is.
So is that actually figured into that again this year? Because that would need to be probably redone again. I was just curious.
I would imagine it would be, whatever he did last year would be, but I'll check on that to make sure.
Okay.
I'll make
that'd be
sure
good.
that that's part of it.
Okay, be good. I wasn't sure if that's something we did in-house, if we had
Yep.
the things, or if we actually,
I'm not sure it was actually under that. It may have been underneath that umbrella because you already had the pricing, but we can have it in the same scope. Absolutely.
it's important to keep it up to date, that's all.
I did increase the
Thank you.
tons of salt because we went extremely over this year, so I increased it a little bit.
That's our estimated consumption, and then nothing until we actually sign on with what we know
Right.
they're going to have for pricing.
Right.
Which was the last 2 years. It's been the same amount, so it was an easy sell for everybody because you're just adopting the prior year's price.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, we have the motion and second. Any other dialogue? All in favor?
Order passed 7-0.
Next item.
Other business, council committee reports.
School.
Nothing new to report.
Planning board. Anything that I missed that was in dialogue already tonight, sir? Okay. Water. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
The only thing that has informally changed is that we're putting in a revision to the goals that we had, and one of them is the revision that one of our dreams is to consolidate the site plan and the subdivision and the zoning ordinance into one, like many municipalities have done. It doesn't mean it's going to happen this year because it's a major undertaking, but it's something that we would like to do.
Okay. Water department, sir.
They had a meeting this past Tuesday. The biggest thing that they discussed was the fact that the PUC approved the rate increase. It went into effect on the 1st, actually the 2nd, but what else was talked about? We had a filter 2 that had been down for some time. We had it cleaned and re-layered. Basically, it's a filter, media put back into it, and that was turned back online. A lot of stuff wasn't discussed because one wasn't there. They chose new chairs or voted on new chairs. Marie Hale is the chair again, and Jim Lemieux is the vice chair. I think that's about all that's going on there at the moment that was discussed anyway. Next meeting is the 10th of April at 5:30 at the Water Department.
Thank you, sir. LDC.
Last meeting was actually more of a organizational meeting where the chair and vice chair was picked, and the idea of when our time frames would be, so we'll be posting that on our website with the information, not the website, but the town website, so people will know when the meetings are. Just real excited about starting to get some of the stuff going and trying to make the village come to life a little bit. We actually do have a new applicant tonight that was at the meeting that actually lives up there and has a new business, which is kind of excited about seeing stuff happening up there, which is good. So, I guess the only thing I'd probably say is anybody that has any interest in the Lisbon Development Committee, please ask. We're always looking for more members.
Thank you. Conservation meets later in the month, so we'll have a report then. Recreation.
Meets on Monday.
Counties, nothing right now. Library.
Nothing new to report.
Town manager.
DOT has finally set their public hearing for those three projects, the intersection of 125 and 196, and then the Main Street reconstruction up to Houston Street, and then Houston out to the urban compact zone. That's going to be on May 2nd at 6 p.m., and we're going to have that at the MTM building. Seeing as all the work is going to be done in that Lisbon Falls area, we felt that having it close to that area would be convenient for the people and the businesses that would be impacted.
What time is that, Diane?
It's going to be at 6 p.m. on May 2nd.
Thank
I
you.
haven't received any other information other than they confirmed that with me, so they will be sending out notices.
So it'd be realistic to say next calendar year, next cycle?
Probably not till 2021, I'm guessing.
That's what we heard as well.
Yeah. Yes, because Bill was at the meeting that we attended in Augusta.
Yep.
I mean, funding is a real concern because of the projects are so much more than before. I did tell him that he really needed to get me a firm amount for at least the reconstruction project because we're going to have to go to referendum on that. So I'm hoping by August I'll know approximately what our 10% is going to be, so that we can do that this November. And if that fails, we'll have another November. But it's more.
It floors me that we're going to have to go to referendum.
I know.
When the last time we had taxpayers vote was to ask them to raise the amount so that we wouldn't have to go to referendum anymore. And here we are.
If we're looking,
Thank you to the state.
if we're looking out 2 to 3 years, is a potential we can allocate money per year to make that not have to go to vote? Or, I mean, I'm just curious. I mean,
Well, we still have to go to referendum regardless.
because of the total value.
Overall commitment is going to be
Because
over
of
a quarter of a
commitment,
million.
Yeah.
right, because to spend the funds, yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to be over the threshold.
I like the way you think, Fran, though.
Well, I'm just saying, I mean, a lot of times there's a bond that goes along with that when we go out to actually ask people for money. It's not the idea that we have it to spend it. It's the idea we're looking for permission to go out and find it to spend it. So if we actually, the question may look different if saying we have the money put aside, will you give us permission to spend it versus the idea of saying, we're going to go out for a $600,000 bond.
Right.
And again, it's just a thought process, that's all.
We carried that money for a little while there,
We still have some. that we're
I know that
carrying.
last year was, I don't know if it was last year or the
That's a
year
good
before.
question.
I think it was last year. We finally said, hey, listen, we've been carrying this for a couple of years. Why don't we use it since it doesn't look this project? I think our last update from Ryan on this was that this thing is indefinitely stalled.
Yeah.
And so I think that we as a council made a decision to say the money that we have, some of the monies that we have allocated for this, we can repurpose in the budget.
And we're still really pushing very hard for them to allow us to do the work at the same time, our sewer work and the water department work. That way there won't be such an impact to the businesses and the property owners. That's still up in the air, and that really needs to be communicated to them at the public hearing. It really does, and we've stressed it, but I think that they really need to hear from people in that area too. But once I get a better number on what the cost is, then we can figure out the planning on setting the money aside.
Any idea of when we can start to see that coming together, Diane?
The amount?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, they're
They
not going
won't
to
until
communicate that.
August.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. If I even get it then. But I told them I need it because we have to start the process for referendum by then. I don't want to go to referendum with a guessed amount. I want to make sure whatever we take is going to be enough to cover our portion of that.
Can I ask a clarification question?
Mm-hmm.
Are we going to referendum to actually ask the public to expend the funds, or are we asking for a financing tool? Because I would go back to what Councilor Rochelle was saying, is the fact is if we're setting it aside, I'm not inclined to actually go down the financing if we can avoid that by allocating the funds.
No.
What are we required to do?
We're going to referendum for them to approve the project so that we
Can
expend
expend the funds. We finance it on our own internally. Is not
Right.
We're not asking them like last time to go out for a bond.
Right, we're not, right. I'm not going to go down that route unless you want me to.
No,
we
I
can
mean,
put a bond package
I think
together,
that was where we were landing, is we didn't
Just-
want to go
No.
down that road.
No,
Yeah.
no, but we still, regardless of how it's funded, we still
Right.
have to.
Expenditure is over the cap, so we need to
That's
be able
right.
to ask permit. Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
it just
That's
I never once interpreted that as we were going for a bond. I just
No.
yeah. And I
was
wanted.
the fact that we were actually we raised that up so we could avoid this, and here we
Right,
are.
right.
It's been dragged out so long by the state, and it's actually the project swelled to a astronomical amount.
If
But the
they had
facts-
been on target for the timing, we wouldn't have to do this.
But-
It would have been under the 250.
But
And
facts, yeah.
maybe it will come in under 250. I doubt it, but we'll
Yeah.
see.
But I mean, I think you have to be prepared if this is a $7 to $10 million project and we get to come up 10%. I mean, are we able to pull $7 to $1 million out of our funds anywheres? So it may actually end up being
Being a financing
Maybe a bonding
tool.
Yeah,
thing.
so
Yeah,
I-
you're
Maybe in
absolutely
need,
I
right.
think
right.
that's something we actually have to
They're
be
gonna-
prepared
right.
because I can see
Good
people
point.
voting
That's why
it
I
down
wanted to
if
keep
they're
it as an
saying they-
open-ended conversation.
And then, then what? So we should probably start. I'm glad we're having these conversations now versus being.
Because I'm not sold that we're going to just be living at 10%. Everything I understand about this project is it has other infrastructure that MDOT isn't going to be on the hook for. We may have additional funds for things like lighting and other incidentals in the downtown area that we may be on the hook for a larger percentage. So
Will that be at their public hearing? Will the scope of that work,
Yes,
what
that should.
percentages go where?
That
More
should-
talks to come.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. That's why I wanted to at least flush out those kind of details early.
But no, it's coming. I think we have to do due process, make sure we're putting money aside to actually at least make sure it's not a surprise at the time.
We'll do our best to say, even if we have to go up for funding, some sort of funding vehicle, we can say we have X banked, and now we understand that it's going to be much greater than that. So at least we're not asking for the full boat, we're asking for a portion of. Might be a little bit easier for the taxpayers to accept if that's where we land, when they realize that we're trying to put their best interests in mind and get some stuff together out of existing funds every year running up to it.
The Route 196 Streetscapes project, they're going to start mobilizing, this is their schedule now, mobilizing on April 16th, and with a target end date no later than June 30th. And it looks like they'll work on the punch list by 6:15 through 6:20, so should be within the fiscal year end. They should have it all done, hopefully as long as the weather cooperates. When they do the Union Street sidewalk, they're planning on doing that April 17th through May 15th. When they do the work on that street, they're going to put signs up for no through traffic. People will still be able to travel on that road to do business and park or whatever they need to do. But as far as using that street as through traffic to avoid other streets, they want to prohibit that because it's such a narrow street, and the work that they have to do, they'll get it done a lot faster if they put up those signs. So right now, we've agreed to that. Unless I get a bunch of complaints, then we'll revisit that. But it makes sense for that type of street. And then the budget schedule, I think this would be my recommendation. It's going to be pretty heavy to do Parks and Rec, Library, Police and Fire all in one night on April 10th. So my recommendation would be to move the Police and Fire to either May 8th, which is just the school budget public hearing. That's all we're going to be doing that night. Or to May 22nd, which is another night that we don't have anything scheduled. It's an off-council meeting night.
I'd say May 8th, if we're already going to be here for something small.
Yep.
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my thought.
I'll
Please
send
do.
out a new schedule.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Next.
Next item, 12.
Under appointments, Order 2018-72 for the Conservation Commission. We have a regular member, term to expire June 30th, 2020, position open.
Mr. Siemens is a nice guy. He's actually very enthused with the task. I met him at 2 meetings I think I attended, and by all means, I would completely support him for the position. Anything that I missed in his bio, Mark? Yeah, very knowledgeable for the task that he is actually signing on for. So I would not want to slow his role to keep him as a resource. Right.
I'd make a motion.
I'll second.
I'll second that.
There we go.
2.
All in favor.
Order passed 7-0.
Next.
Order 2018-73, the Lisbon Development Committee, a regular member, term to expire January 31, 2019. Open.
This is, she came to the last meeting. It's Meredith Lord. She actually opened up Manning Family Legal, vested in the area, in the neighborhood, wanted to make it look better. And we reached out to her and saying that, she had actually came to a positive change meeting concerning the sidewalks and crosswalks in there next to her area. And we said this is a great opportunity for her to have a role in helping kind of direct that. And she stood at the plate and put her application in. So I would make a motion that we actually accept it.
I need a second.
Second.
All in favor.
Order passed 7-0.
Thank you.
So it's good to have a lawyer on your team.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt.
Council
It's the opposite.
Communications.
Anybody got anything that we would share? I got nothing. Moving right on.
Audience participation for new items.
Anybody wishing to speak to the council? Come on up, Dot.
Dorothy Fitzgerald, Lisbon Falls. As you know, I attended the previous budget meeting last Tuesday. It was very lengthy, so I did not speak up when you were discussing the transfer station. I thought that the people at the transfer station were treated very, very unfairly. They are understaffed. And it's a dangerous job up there as well. There are 3 compactors that they have to monitor. There's also, I call it the hole where the regular stuff goes down. They have to monitor that. And then when that trailer or whatever it is full, they have to empty it. I've seen big things go down there that they have to poke and make sure that they are able to compact it when they need to. They can't do all of that, plus check every vehicle that goes in to make sure that they have permits. They're seriously understaffed. Marcel Obi and the guys there do a fantastic job. There are a lot of elderly people. I know there are a lot of times that I've had heavy bags that I've been carrying in and somebody comes to help me, and I've seen them help other elderly people as well, or people that are slightly disabled. So they're understaffed, and Marcel Obi and the guys up there do a really, really terrific job. I, for one, would like to, and I know others I've spoken to that have taken trash up there as well, would like to see Marcel Obi as the director up there. He does a good job. They need a director that is on site. when, who was it that was there before? The director.
Wayne Ricker.
Wayne Ricker. He was the director. He was on site. And I think that you need to have somebody there as a director that is on site, especially on weekends. And I think Marcel Obi would do a terrific job at doing that. And like I said, I just feel it's a dangerous job, and they do a great job at it. And thank you.
Thank you, Doc. Anybody else? Moving on to our
Executive session, Order 2018-74, to go into executive session per 1 MRSA Section 405-6C, consultations with legal counsel.
Will we be coming back for a vote?
No.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Favor?
Order passed, 7-0.
Class dismissed. Thanks for
Thanks
playing.
for coming out.
Yeah. Thanks for coming out. Have a great night. What do you say, Dan?